Hi everybody, welcome to Quiz 2 explanation for Lesson 6 of the literature. Now you might be thinking that this passage was very long, and you're right. It is quite long, it's more than one page in the textbook. However, this is realistic. The old GED exam tends to have quite short passages, and so a lot of these quizzes will have short passages as well. But the new GED exam, the passages are much longer. I think in the old GED exam, the longest passage was about 500 words. In the new GED exam, the shortest passage is 500 words, and they go up to about 900 words. So it's important that you learn how to find the answers. Because this passage is so long, there is no way that you could read the whole thing. You need to be going through the questions and trying to read the section of the passage that relates to the question that you're answering, and then trying to remember what you've read to help you answer later questions that come up. Let's have a look together. So question 1. Which of the following characterizes this excerpt as informal writing? So the question is saying that this is informal writing. But why is it informal writing? Is it serious and dignified? But serious, dignified means with pride. It would be higher writing level. It would be formal, not informal. So A cannot be right because that would be formal. Scientific report would also be formal, so it's not B. Is it easygoing and chatty, or is it cool and impersonal? Personal, without the I-M at the beginning, means me and you. But impersonal would be third person. So actually that would be formal writing. If we look at the first paragraph, we can see a few things. My father rented a camp on the lake and took us all there for the month of August. So my father took us all. This is a personal story. The person who is telling the story is telling about his memory of his father and what he did in the holidays. So it definitely cannot be D. And a scientific report, you don't write in the first person. You don't say I in a scientific report. You would write in the third person. You would say it. So the correct answer is going to be answer C. Question 2. What does the author mean when he says they were afraid the tarred road would have found it out in the second paragraph? So the first thing that we need to do is find where it says the tarred road would have found it out. And we can see that it is there. Then we can look at the answers that we have. The road would no longer be there. Civilization would have come to the lake. A tar factory would have been built there. No one would have paved the road yet. Let's go back a couple of sentences and see what is happening. So let's start with on the journey. So on the journey over to the lake, I began to wonder what it would be like. So he's trying to imagine what this lake area will be like. He's not been there for a long time. I wondered how would time have marred this unique holy spot? How would time have changed the location? The coves and streams of the hills that the sun set behind, the camps and path behind the camps. I was sure the tarred road would have found it out, and I wondered in what other ways it would be desolated, it would be changed. Well, the tarred road, tar is that black substance that goes on top of the road. If you've ever driven around a rural area, such as near the villages in Karen State, you know that there's not always a concrete road or a black tar road. Sometimes it's just mud and sand. Well, he is afraid that the tarred road would have found it out. He thinks that it might have become more modern. It might have developed. When we look at the other few sentences, we talk about this unique spot. It talks about the coves and the hills. It talks about the sun setting. It talks about quite a natural scene. And if we read the rest of the passage, I think we'd see about a lake and about going swimming in nature. So it sounds like this is quite a unspoilt location. It's not a very touristy location. Not many people go there. He is afraid that the tarred road would have found it. He means he is afraid that civilization would have come to the lake. Before, there was no tar road. There was just a mud path. He's not talking about a tar factory. He's talking about the road. Okay, not a factory. He's talking about the road. So that's why C is wrong. And D, no one would have paved the road yet. He's not afraid that nobody would have paved the road. He's afraid that people would actually have paved the road. He does not want civilization. He wants to escape from everything. So that's why answer D is also wrong. Then what does the author mean when he says that his son never had any fresh water up his nose? Never had any fresh water up his nose. His son was very good at swimming, but if you go swimming, the water goes up your nose. If you've never had the water up your nose, maybe you have not been swimming. So A sounds like it would be the wrong answer. His son hated the water? Possibly. His son had never swum in a lake, or his son was used to swimming pools. Well, a swimming pool would have chlorine and chemicals in. The water would not be fresh. The sea would be salt water, but in a lake, there would be fresh water. So this seems to suggest that his son would never have been swimming in a lake before. That's why they're going there. They're going to the place where he's never been before. So the correct answer is answer C. Which of the following best states the main idea of this excerpt? He's a chip off the old block. Another way of saying that would be he's like his father, a chip off the old block. So if you chip a small piece of wood off a block of wood, then that small chip of wood is the same as the big block of wood. So that's when a father and a son are the same character and personality. B, there is nothing new under the sun. Sorry, there should be S-U-N. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Or D, the child is the father of the man. A and D both look at the relationship between father and son. B and C are both looking at how things change over time. Now, there's a couple of things in the paragraphs that I want to highlight for you. With a question like this, it's quite difficult to take in the whole passage because it's so long, but I would like to just show you a couple of sentences. In the second paragraph, the author, while they're on the journey, begins to wonder what the place will be like. He wonders how time would have changed that place. And then towards the end of the passage, he says, I could tell that it was going to be pretty much the same as it had been before. So the beginning of the passage, the beginning of the second paragraph, he's talking about what will it be like. He's trying to imagine how things will be. But towards the end, he begins to realize that it will be the same as before. So things are basically staying the same. The correct answer is C. The main idea is about how things do not change. So A and D are wrong because A and D focus on the relationship between the father and the son, or the similarity between the father and the son. This is more focused on how things do not change. Now, there is nothing new under the sun. Well, nothing is a bit too strong. Maybe it's a bit too exaggerated. We're only looking at one story, one place where the man used to go for holidays as a child, and he goes back to when he's older. To say that there is nothing new under the sun, I think goes beyond what we have in the passage. It's just too big. So the more things change, the more they stay the same in this place. Some things have changed. He's grown older. He's got a son, but the place that he goes to has stayed the same. So that's why the answer is C. But questions like this are quite difficult, especially when we have long passages. And remember, in the GED exam, you're only trying to get 50% correct. And if you have a very good essay and grammar section, you can even get a little bit less than half correct and still pass. So if you're not getting questions like this right, don't worry. Try and make sure that you get the easier ones correct. And also, don't forget to guess something. If you do get a difficult question, you can guess it and you can put a red flag on the question and come back to it at the end. There will always be some questions that are easier. Question number 5. Which of the following does the excerpt most strongly imply about the author's feelings? He is happy only when spending time outdoors. Well, in this passage, he does spend time outdoors fishing and he is happy, but to say only when he is outside, I think that's going to be too strong. We don't know if he's happy at work, if he's happy when he's with his family at home. We don't know what he does for a hobby. We don't know. So that would be too strong. He disapproves of all signs of progress. Well, you might say that because he is afraid that the tarred road may have found it out. But again, that word all. Does he, for example, does he like fishing hooks? Does he like spinners? These are modern fishing techniques. There's nothing that says he doesn't like that. He doesn't go and make his own fishing rod from a branch off the tree, for example. He does seem to like some modern things, but he doesn't want civilization to have spoiled that natural place where he went for holidays. So A and B both seem too big, too exaggerated. They are not supported by this passage. C, he longs to recapture the joys of his youth, or he is bored with vacations by the sea. Well, it says that a few weeks ago, he got this feeling so strong that he bought some hooks and went to the lake where he used to go. He's been going saltwater fishing, that means fishing by the sea, but recently he wanted to go back to the lake where he went as a child. Yeah? So he wants to go back to the place where he went as a child. That's why the passage starts with, my father rented a place there when I was young. And then I took my son along to the same place, and he wonders how it had changed. But he's going back to the place where he was happy when he was young. So the correct answer is C. What does the author mean by the term dual existence in the final paragraph? Well, we need to find that phrase dual existence first, and then we'll have a look at the options that we have available. He was developing two personalities. Dual means two, existence means living, so two personalities. He was experiencing the lake from both his own and his father's perspectives. He was becoming both a saltwater and a freshwater man, or his son was becoming more like him while at the lake. Well, it does say, I seem to be living a dual existence. I would be in the middle of some simple act. I would be picking up bait box or laying down table fork, or I would be saying something, and suddenly it would not be I, but my father who was saying the words or making the gesture. It gave me a creepy sensation. So he's talking about himself, his own memories, his own feelings. So it's not answer D. It's not his son becoming like him, but the things that he is saying are like what his father used to say. So the things that he does and the things that he says are like what his father said when his father took him there when he was a child. This is not about having two personalities. He's not angry and sad. He's not happy and sad. And it's not about saltwater and freshwater. It's about experiencing the lake from both his own and his father's perspectives. He has his own memories of what the lake is like, but he's also starting to behave like his father behaved when he was young. So he's starting to understand how his father felt when he was young. He understands why his father said certain things. He understands why his father did certain things, because he's now doing those same things now that he has become an adult. And that's what it says there. By simple transposition, I was my father. He's becoming like his father. He's understanding the situation from both perspectives. Question number 7. Which of the following sentences best explains the author's statement, "It gave me a creepy sensation," which is the final sentence of the passage? He found it strange that nothing at the lake had changed. But what comes before that? It was not I, but my father who was saying those words. So the creepy sensation is linked to him being like his father. It's not linked to the lake not changing. It's linked to how he views the lake from his father's perspective. So we can take away A. B. He felt his father's spirit during the vacation, but he's not saying he has a connection with his father. He's saying that he said or he did the same things. I was my father. Okay. And then later it says, I seem to be living a dual existence. I was doing a simple act, or I would be saying something, and suddenly it was not I, but my father who was saying or doing those things. So he is starting to behave like his father. It's not that he has a special connection to his father's spirit. So it's not answer B. C, he realized how much children take on the habits of their parents. That's possibly correct. But is it all children and all parents, or just him and his father? Maybe C is a little bit too broad, because it only talks about him and his father. It does not say more generally about all children becoming like their fathers. D, he felt himself turning into the man his father once was. Well, that's what it says. I was my father, and it was not I, but my father who was saying or doing the things. So he is becoming like his father used to be. So the correct answer is D. And on to the final question, which is one of the easier ones. What is the main purpose of the first paragraph? Well, first paragraphs normally introduce something. And the first answer is to introduce the basic situation which the essay will address. Unless there is something better, that will be the right answer. Introductions of a story might set the scene and introduce the characters. The introduction of a non-fictional piece of writing introduces the topics and sometimes gives a summary of the main ideas. So introducing the basic situation sounds like a good idea. B, to put the reader in the mood to experience the author's recollections. Well, it's not about changing the reader's mood, it's about setting the scene. He says, one summer, my father took me on holiday. So this is when he was young. Later, he grew up and he did not go back to the lake. He went to the seaside in the summer holidays. And recently, he got the feeling that he wants to go back to the lake again. So that is his early memory from his childhood and what he's about to do. In the rest of the essay, we're going to be talking about him going back to the lake again as an adult. It's not about the reader's mood, it's introducing what is going to happen. And the author's relationship with his father is mentioned, but that would be a narrow answer. That is part of the situation, but it is not the whole situation, because here he talks about his son. His son is going to go with him. So it's not answer C. And then D, to establish the theme of the essay. But as we looked at the previous question, the theme of the essay is how things don't change. It's paragraph 2 where he wonders what it will be like, and it's the final paragraph where he says that nothing had changed. This is setting the scene, but it does not really introduce the theme. So D is not correct. If we get something like this, what is the purpose of the first paragraph? Well, the first paragraph is almost always going to be an introduction. So that would be an easy question to guess. Well, that's the end of this video. I know the passage was difficult and long. Sometimes we do get difficult and long passages. Don't give up. Keep trying hard, keep reading more, keep trying to learn more vocabulary, and keep practicing all these different types of skills that you need to answer the questions. O să vă